Well, hello, everybody out there in Facebook land. My name is Judah Hoover, and our guest today is a gentleman that I've known for a while, Jeff Paulus. And of course, I have my exciting and amazing co host with us today, Mr. Josh Weidman. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate show. Our goal here is to have great educational conversations about being a real estate agent or being a realtor. Our kind of focus demographic is central Pennsylvania and the mid-Atlantic region, but we do have a wider take from that. I was talking to Josh a little bit before the show about a listener that we have the whole way from New Zealand who's been checking us out and really inspired by what we have going on here and what we talk about. So Monday through Wednesday, we do like 3 to 5 minutes worth of news and then 25 to 30 minutes worth of content. On Thursdays, we have a guest on. That's why we've got the amazing Jeff Paulus with us today. I can't believe it's already Thursday. Good golly.
I know. It's going too fast.
Feels like Wednesday or Tuesday. And then on Friday, we do a news wrap-up. So, Josh, why don't you begin us off with telling us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. My name's Josh Weidman. I'm on vacation this week, so excuse the beach backdrop. It won't be like this every day. But I'm a hard money lender right here in central Pennsylvania. Hard Money Bankers is a direct lender, which allows us to work a lot different than most other lenders in that within a couple hours, I can get you approved for a loan. And since we're the direct lender, I'm not going to shop that loan out. We've got funding to fund within 24 hours. As long as your title is ready to go, and you've got all your ducks in a row. So, if you're interested in funding on your next project, give me a call, 717-213-8488, or check us out online at hardmoneybackers.com. Judah.
Yeah, Josh is an absolutely awesome hard money lender. I know a number of people who from my sphere of influence, who have already used him. So definitely check him out. My name is Judah Hoover. I'm an executive with Slate House Group, and we are a modern real estate company. We work with people on investment properties and primary residences. Well over 50% of the real estate transactions I have been in have been primary residences for people, or second homes, or when their daughters or children are ready to buy or something like that, they send me those transactions. I was just talking to, really quick nugget for thought, I was talking to a wholesaler this morning who just wasn't able to quite get a deal done with the seller, and he realized, this should be a listing. And so he flipped that lead over to me. It looks like I'm going to list 3 houses for this individual.
Nice.
And when those sell, I am then going to pay for some marketing for that wholesaler. We have to do that in legal, moral, and ethical ways so that the Department of Real Estate and RESPA compliance and everything like that is met. But if you're a wholesaler and you are having near misses that you would like to monetize, give me a call. Let's see what we can work out, and we will go from there. So, Jeff, we'll start peppering you with questions here in just a second. Give us kind of the 45-second to minute and a half opening conversation on who you are. And it looks like you're sitting outside right now. Are you at your home? You on vacation? I know you were traveling some last week. What's your story, my friend?
I'm sitting in my office right now. I try to make it feel like a vacation.
Perfect.
But no, I'm in my office right now, and last week I was part vacation, part seminar. I don't know if you heard of Dave Ramsey. Mm-hmm. So I went down to Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership Summit that he had down. It was supposed to be in Orlando, but he demonstrated leadership by switching from Orlando to his office in 6 days flat for a very large event. So it was boots on the ground showing us how it's done, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
But yeah, it was very impressive, them being able to do that, change that quick. As far as myself, I just a regular, typical family guy.
That's cool. Great.
Married with 4 kids. My son actually joined me for the summit down there, and his wife and my wife and my 2 grandkids, they hung out at the Airbnb while we were doing our thing throughout the day. but he went along for that. And then my two middle boys are in college, and they're actually traveling with the singing group this summer as much as they can with COVID.
Right.
And my 13-year-old daughter obviously still lives at home. But a little bit of my story. I used to be in construction. I used to be a residential framer. I eventually had my own business for at least 10 years, and that was going very well. And that's how I funded a lot of my real estate transactions getting started. The 2000, well, actually, I'll step back. In 2003, 2004, building was going so fast, so big, so quick that my limited knowledge, I mean, I didn't actually grow up in the white collar financial world for sure, but it just didn't seem to make sense that all this was going on so fast. We were building a home a week at least, and
Wow.
just cranking. And the other company I was with, even before I started on my own in 1999, we were doing 2 houses a week. I mean, pretty much consistently. It was just
Wow.
hammer on, and I could see things couldn't keep up. I'm like, who's buying all these $300,000-$400,000 homes?
Yeah,
Right.
it's just not sustainable.
It's funny that you saw that in 2003, right? You're thinking that in 2003. I had the same feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't make sense in 2003, 2004 that all this was going on. And I didn't mind building them, but I'm like, I need to start thinking ahead here. And I already was into real estate, so I thought I'd start looking more into that. And eventually, I didn't see myself making as much money as I thought I should in apartments. That's a good long-term investment, but as far as living on that, I didn't see that as a good viable option. So I checked into like rent-to-own single-family homes, got trained in that pretty substantially in 2007, 2008, and by 2009, obviously things were pretty well, and I was buying houses 2008, 2007, 2009. Just I kept buying because I didn't know much about a recession. I just knew that building wasn't going as much as it should be.
Well,
Right.
I got a quick question for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
When you were looking at the viability of these people buying at the top of the market, and where the market was going to go, what and I guess kind of looking at your apartments, if you excuse me, I got a visitor here. Say hi, and I'll get back inside, dude. Hey, get back inside.
That's part of vacation.
We got a house full here. We have
That's
13
awesome.
people. Yeah, 13 people. And a lot of kids. It's really fun. But anyway, all right. So you were looking at your apartments and you're saying, look, there's not enough money in that. What made it all of a sudden make sense with a rent-to-own type situation, or the subject
Well, I'm
to?
going to be so. Remember, I was a framer.
Yep.
I swung a hammer. Financial. I mean, I like numbers and figuring out numbers to get a bid together for a framing job. No problem at all. I was not I barely knew how to operate a computer. That wasn't me. I mean, I didn't need to.
Sure. Right.
But in 2003, I looked at my apartments and I said, I'm paying to keep these things afloat. I mean, so a tenant would move out. I'd spend $15,000. I'd pull my guys from framing. I'd fix up the apartment. I had the manpower, but I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. I mean, all of my profit, the math wasn't working. Now, today, the math works. So I'm saying long term, I still have those apartments 20 years later. Yeah. And now they are like gold. I mean,
And I love the long term play. I was just wondering, what was the thing that if you said, okay, there wasn't enough income generation to the return here, taking a very similar model, and you're still leasing these places out, and you're making an arbitrage on the on your income to cost, but what's the difference on a, I guess, subject to rent to own type of scenario as opposed to just a straight rental? And why was that so attractive?
Okay,
what was so attractive about it, I should say?
What was so attractive? What is attractive about it is you can buy a single family home, and instead of getting a simple security deposit that they can get back, by the way, if and when they move out, as long as they don't do too much damage. I saw the rent to own as a way to get a chunk of money up front, similar to even a wholesale. I mean, it's almost the same amount as I can see a typical wholesaler getting, with a few exceptions. and then you get to keep the property. And
Right.
so I would get the 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, $30,000 up front, and
Yep.
that's not refundable.
Right. I just want to interrupt because you're confirming something unsolicited that we made a point when we were talking about, going over when we were talking about rent to own, is that you get 2,500. I think the lowest I ever got was $1,500, but you get 25 to $5,000.
I'm not sure why.
Josh, you hear me?
I got you.
Yep.
Jeff, you back? Any better? If you try to leave the studio and log right back in.
No. Hold on. I'll do this. I'll take them out and then add them back in. Is that better, Josh? Or is that better,
Jeff?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear you. That's true.
All right.
A
So-
phone call came in and interrupted me, and I moved them out of the way, and now I can't hear a thing.
Okay, so we've got some. See if you can log out and log back in. We'll give Judah the mic. He has no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave and come right back.
Right there. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. It'll correct itself.
Yeah,
But-
and so I think that
Now I can't contradict you. Now I can't contradict you to say no, that's not right.
I can say whatever I choose to say. Is that any better, my friend?
I can hear you now. I don't know what
Okay,
happened.
cool. So
Perfect.
forgive us, dear listeners, as we do a live raw show. So what we do, what you talked about there is very accurate. That you get a wholesale fee up front, and wholesalers like to talk about the time that they made $25,000 or the $30,000 or whatever. But really, wholesalers grind it out. It's 5 to maybe 10 grand, and when you add in the cost of marketing and stuff like that, they're making 3 to 5 to 7 grand, on average per wholesale, unless they've really got a monster machine going. So that's great. So you get a wholesale fee up front equivalent, and it's right away. So it's today money that you get to keep. And then also you still own the property.
Yep, that is what I saw as the positive the benefit versus just an apartment. Now, obviously, you can have an apartment building, and when one unit goes vacant, you still have a couple to cover it. But I haven't found that to be a real issue.
Well, exactly, and especially when when you go to sell, your apartment building is all about the numbers, as opposed to you got a single family home. Even if your rent to own buyer is not the end buyer, you're going to sell it at some point.
Yep, and then you're going to make. To me, there's so rent to own home. Well, let's just go with buying a property subject to, and a subject to property, you buy it with the existing loan in place.
Yep.
At whatever that interest rate is, and anything we're buying these days is anywhere from 2.5% to 5% interest. It's pretty much anything
beautiful, isn't it?
You can't touch it. But I bought a place back in 2012 with a 2 3/4 or 2 3/8% loan, whatever it was, I don't remember, but the numbers still work. And I paid I have a whole story on how that went, but the bottom line is they owed 145 on it. I gave them 15 cash to help them buy a pool at their new place, for pity's sake. And so in it for 160, the loan on it was like 1,100 or something like that, and I rent it out for $1,900 a month. So I'm making cash flow of maybe $700 a month. Plus, we have a pay down of an average. I looked at the average this morning, a pay down of $450 a month over the last 8 years. Do some math there, and it's pretty impressive. But that's just money I can't use, but it's savings put away.
Right.
So
principal reduction is still wealth creation. It's like taking money from your one back pocket, and put it in your other back pocket.
It's a still your
right. It's still your money. So you're making like $500-600 a month in monthly cash flow, because I'm sure that $1,100 that included taxes and insurance, principal and interest. So basically, you don't have any other costs other than that $1,100. Sure, there might be some maintenance things that come up from time to time, or it might go vacant, from time to time. But it sounds like this tenant's been there, and then you have $400 to $500 a month, $500 to $600 a month in spendable cash, plus another $400 in tomorrow money, $400 every single month of tomorrow money that property is generating for you as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a little bit of math on it this morning. I was like, let me at least, I was just looking through some of my notes and I'm like, whoa, I forgot about that place. And so I had my bookkeeper pull up some numbers. Right when I bought it at 160, I thought it might be worth 200, but I easily got 234 out of it on a rent to own back then. In the last 8 years, we probably had at least 3 other rent to own buyers that went through and decided not to buy the property. Today, the balance on the mortgage is $102,000. So you've got $145,000 mortgage now paid down to 102. That's that's $450 average per month pay down. Okay.
Right. Wow.
And then you have true cash flow. And over the last 8 years, including my option fees that people paid, and I didn't have her pull out each of those, but usually on a $200,000 home, you're looking at around $7,000 or $8,000 that each person gives. But including rent, after all maintenance, repairs, taxes, insurance, after everything, the net profit was like 124,000 over 8 years.
Wow.
That's 15,000 a year. That's half of some people's pay salary out of one house.
Well, and how much did you have to put into that house? I mean, up front, what did it cost you?
$15,000.
There you go. Okay.
So
pretty decent investment. It's 100% a year.
Based on 15,000 a year, that's 100% return of my money.
Right.
Every single year.
Yeah.
Well, after the first year, it's infinitive.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
So have you sold that house, or are you still holding that house?
I have it on a rent to own. Actually, we've graduated our rent to own to be our path to home ownership. So it's where we actually try to be more involved in them. So it's not just a rent to own. We let them hang out and hope they fail. That's not our goal. Our goal is to put them into our program and then help them as much as they need us, or will allow us to help them to actually achieve it through credit repair, credit rebuilding, credit education, financial education, whatever they need.
Yeah, that's so much more rewarding. I remember when I was young doing rent to owns, I was like, oh, I hope they fail. And then I kind of moved into a new model of, well, it's okay if they fail. And then you get to the point where you are, Jeff, and certainly this just speaks to your integrity as an individual, that you are actively trying to help them succeed. I just want to touch on something here before I ask you your next question. Taz says, that sounds awesome, Judah. I need to know more. For anybody who wants to know more, we really delve into the nuts and bolts of how to do this in last week's shows. And so we couldn't line up Jeff to be our guest because he was, doing some other stuff last week, which is great. So last week, Monday through Wednesday, we talked about subject to and rent to own. If you're listening to Jeff and liking this and wanting to know more information, check that out. Also, you can email me. I'm an expert. I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of these, and we'll get Jeff's contact information here for you as well soon. So, Jeff, I have a question. You and I know each other because of a real estate investors club that I run in Harrisburg that unfortunately isn't meeting right now because of this whole COVID nonsense. How long have we known each other? When did you start coming to the Landlords and Investors Mastermind group? And what has that group meant to you?
It's probably been 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And me, I typically, because of where I'm at, I'm not real close to Harrisburg. I am more of a skipper. I go to different groups depending on what their subject matter is, but I've come to your group multiple times because of your subject matter, and it's always been informative and interesting and something that I could go away with, like, understanding a little bit more of whatever you were that we were talking about that night.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely, I think it's closer to 10, my friend. I hate to age yourself and myself, but I think it's been
It's been a
closer to,
while.
yeah. And what's because I also think about how old your boys are now versus how old the first time it was that I met them, and I certainly didn't meet them, until you had been coming for a year or two or three,
So
and
speaking
that's
of
been,
so speaking of the boys, they're 20 now. When they were 18 or 19, we bought a house together, and they did a lot of the work. Now we bought it cash, and we what $9,000. That was their cash. They put their money into buying the house. I used my funds to renovate the house, and then we're going to split the profits. That one we put on a rent to own because at the time that's what showed up with enough money and a guy that looked like he had really good bones as far as a job and all of that. He put 20,000 down on that house
Wow.
as a rent to own, and because I knew a little bit of the background and knew what he could do to that house if I left him in too long, it wasn't good.
right.
We gave him 12 months to get financing. Like, you do this in 12 months. Otherwise, we're going to have to move on because we want to roll this money. My boys need their money. We need to get moving. A year later, he purchased the property for 154 or something like that after we put 70 or 80 in it. But so that's what they did, and we
Nice.
used rent to own to help make that happen.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. So we
That's
have
awesome.
another question here from Taz, and I can probably answer this. Does Josh lend on subject to down payment? So, Josh, if somebody were to come to you and they would have a subject to situation where they say, "Hey, I can tie this subject to up. I just need to give the seller $15,000 to go away," would you be able to lend them a hard money loan on that?
We only loan on first lien position. So in something like this, a friends and family loan, and especially like small amounts like that, $10,000, $15,000, like we're not set up for that type of arrangement. And frankly, you wouldn't like the terms, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't begrudge you for that. But it takes us the same amount of time to lend $300,000 on a project as it does to do a $15,000 loan. So the fees are going to be a little bit more
I
expensive
think
than
I think it's also
would work.
important to point out. I think it's important to point out that 90% of the subject twos I've done, I didn't need to give the seller anything.
Yeah.
But what's great
I
about
agree.
subject two is if you have one that works as a subject two, but it doesn't quite work as a wholesale or a flip, and you have 15 grand, you can make a killer subject two out of it. So it's got what you did there was kind of a hybrid between a cash offer and a subject to very creative financing. Steve says
Yep.
that Jeff would be an awesome person to have for a future meeting. And Jeff, you would know it's probably been what, a year and a half now since I had you speak. So we're definitely coming up whenever we open up again, maybe this year yet. I did have, most of the year lined up with speakers, and that kind of went away. So we'll have to, I definitely think that there's value to what you're talking about, especially because there's so many loans being written right now under 3%. And
Yeah.
I think that, values being as high as they are, what unfortunately triggers people to buy a subject to is, a divorce, a bankruptcy, a job loss. Bad stuff happens to good people, and then they've got a challenge in their life centered around real estate. And oftentimes there's not enough equity for a wholesaler or a cash buyer to come in and kind of steal the property from them. But it makes an ideal situation for subject to. So Jeff, are you full time with real estate now? Are you still own a framing or construction company or anything like that? Kind of what does your what? Tell me a little bit about that.
2012, in June of 2012, I closed the construction company for good. It came to the point where I either had to go back into construction to help keep it going because of 2012,
Yep.
or I move into real estate. And so actually I looked at my numbers in real estate and I said, if I can replace my income that I was currently having in the framing business with real estate, it would make sense to jump out. So I kind of set that threshold. I think it was 6 months, and I was good to go, and we cut ties to that. Been full time in this since 2009, but I had the construction company going with the foreman until 2012.
So about 11
Okay.
years now, you've been a full-time real estate investor. That's awesome. Now that leads me to my next question. Full-time can be kind of a deceptive term. How many hours a week would you say that you work in the real estate business?
I'm not the 4 hour a week guy. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I will say that I do all of my own property management. I shouldn't. I should call Slate House, I guess, but I do all my own property management. It's really hard to get construction guys, so basically it's all on me at this particular time. I used to have, and I'm still looking and getting leads. So if anybody out there is looking to get into like property management, I have an opening in my office for a property manager to work under me. Don't have to have a real estate license and all my stuff. So you can just come in as my assistant and help keep things going. I absolutely need that right now. So my week is full time.
That's good. Well, that's good, but
it's 8 to 10 hours a day.
Working full time for yourself is better than working full time for somebody else. I worked that 4 hour week for about a year and a half, and by the end of it, I did not like the person I became. I don't want to get too preachy, but we're supposed to work 6 days and rest the seventh. Man was made to work. And we are designed to work and give profitably back. So I just have never really bought into the notion that you're supposed to quit your job and be lazy, and that's just never been.
That was my question. That was going to be my question, Jeff. Is it? Do you work as look? You've owned other businesses, and they weren't one man shows, right? So you've obviously had experience managing other people, and you know what kind of employees a position's going to demand if you're going to have hands off and what it's going to cost and things like that. So are you as hands-on as you are because you like the control of it and you enjoy the work, or is it kind of a necessity of where your business is right now and you're looking to transition into something else, or something else?
Well, I had transitioned a couple years ago toward having office help full time all the time, and I just haven't been able to find the perfect person. And with COVID hitting, I'm like, you know what, I can handle this. I may not get some things done, but I can get everything that's necessary done, and so I've kind of opted for that. I do realize that I've got to find other help because it doesn't give me the freedom that I want. But what this business has done for me is, if I want to go away, when I was framing, if a house wasn't built, I didn't get paid.
Right.
When I'm in real estate, if I choose to go away, if I have a couple vacancies when I go away, they'll be there when I get back, but I still have a check. I still have a ton of rent money coming in, regardless of whether I have a vacancy or 2 or 3 or whatever. So when I want to go away right now, what I love about what I'm doing now is I can go away if I want to. Like we're taking our youth to, I think it'll be 3 youth camps this year, and real estate does that for me. If I want to go, we take our church to a youth camp. Like, okay, you guys want to go? Let's go. We take the motor home. We go down to youth camp. We hang out there for a week. I come back. The business is still standing. If something goes wrong, I have people that I can call and they can fix it, and we move on.
Well,
that's what I love about real estate.
I just asked because I've had, there are certain aspects of what I do that I really love. And to the extent that given a choice, I'd probably do those things, if it weren't a question of whether they got done or not, and I just, it's always curious, my mom is in her late 60s, and like, she can't sit down, she can't relax, it's not fun for her, and I always thought that was cool. So
that's me. If there's, I'll never retire. I mean, I could retire, but who, like you said, who wants to be lazy? But on the other hand, I've come to the point where God's given me a gift, and He's given me abilities and he's given me the opportunity to make money, why would I just sit on my hands and fritter that away? I should make as much as I can, make the best use of my time so that when it's time, when I need to go do something or can go on a mission trip to Freeport or whatever, all of that can happen because I haven't been lazy. And frankly, I have a work van right now that I have just for me, because if somebody needs something done, I just need to take the work van. I want all my tools in there so I can do it.
And you can do it. Exactly.
That's how I roll.
So let me ask you this, Jeff, kind of as we wrap up, and I would just say that it's one of the things that I've always loved and appreciated about you. Not only that you bring your kids into your business, and that from an early age, in their early teenage years, I met your kids because they were coming to the meetups from time to time and learning and teaching them. And you were doing much more than just letting them set up a lemonade stand to teach them some entrepreneurship. The other thing is that you do definitely give back. Steve says here the parable of the talents. I was definitely going to make that reference myself as well as you were talking there. The other thing that I think is great is that you take your time, effort, and energy and the freedom and flexibility and use it to invest in other people's, help out with your church, help out with causes. Maybe people are listening to this and they don't have a home church, but there are other causes and things that are meaningful and valuable to them and allows them to do that. So I want to ask a question because I know that you've done this in the past. And so how should people reach out to you if they think they have a wholesale deal and they kind of want to, give it to you as a lead or partner with you on it,
or they'd like a job, or they're looking for a job.
By the way, we should say that because I am in the property management field and I can tell you straight up, if you work for a company and that company owns property, you can manage those properties without needing your license. So yes. You do not need a real estate license to manage anything that you have an ownership interest in or anything that is owned by the company you work for. So if you're a W-2 employee or a 1099 getting a K-1 or something like that for a company, you can manage property without a license. So how do people reach you, Jeff? What's the best way for people to find you?
My phone number is.
Oh, look at that. Perfect.
I don't know if you can see it there. There we go.
Yeah, almost.
717-870-7943. My email. That has my personal email, which will work, jeff.paulus40@gmail.com.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, be prepared to be spammed.
Right, exactly.
I know. I was concerned about that.
Just kidding.
So that's great. So Jeff, and the name of your company is again?
Integrity Properties.
Integrity Properties, right? And I can tell Jeff is one of these guys who, when I need help in real estate, I give Jeff a call. When I have questions about my club, I give Jeff a call. Jeff is like part of my unofficial board of directors. And I just have always really appreciated you, my friend. I cannot say enough good things about you. And you are a man that is true to your word and lives up to that integrity name. And so if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or they want to partner on a wholesale deal or, wholesale subject to or get involved in some way like that, Jeff would make a mutually beneficial relationship. Anything else that you want to say here at the end, Jeff? Anything else that we didn't cover that you want to touch on?
I will say that sometimes people either aren't trained or don't feel comfortable with the subject too, or maybe they're not even sure if that they sometimes we get into our field and that's okay. We have to do what we're strong on. I'd say if you're one of those that you have your strength, you're a wholesaler, or you just do cash and that's all you really want to do. If you have anything that demands creative financing, or you're like, this isn't working for me, I wonder if that'll work for Jeff, give me a call. And we'll make sure it's worthwhile for you if we make it happen.
That's awesome. Absolutely excellent. Josh, do you have any comments before we sign off here, my friend?
No, I mean I've got to no. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Tomorrow's news is going to be nuts.
Tomorrow's news is going to be nuts. We're going to be back here at noon. tomorrow doing the news wrap up, trying to find a positive. I try to put a positive spin on everything that Josh tries to put negative
Good luck.
spin on. And so you really get
See?
both sides of the equation, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you here. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you very much for joining us.